I guess we'll give everybody a chance to jump on. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Fertility Fact or Fiction. Probably no one online yet, so we'll take a minute to get this to go. But welcome back. Happy New Year, everybody. I am your host, Dr. Rahi Victory, double board certified reproductive endocrinology and infertility specialist, licensed in Canada and the US. And we had a great holiday. It was amazing. I will share some stories with you all once everybody's on. And hope you guys all had a safe and productive and family-filled and love-filled holiday season. For those of you that celebrate, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And for those of you that don't, we will definitely be looking forward to whatever holidays you do celebrate. I fell fast asleep on New Year's. Did you stay up on New Year's?
Forgot about that. Forgot about everything on this side. Yeah, I not intentionally. My brother decided last minute to have a little gathering.
Yeah.
And so I decided to attend the gathering. And where the hell is the on switch on this?
Isn't it on the front?
Yeah. Rookie moves. And so yeah, so we went and we stayed up till midnight, and who knew?
I out cold at 11:30.
That's the time everybody should be sleeping. 11:30 is like a dream for me to fall asleep.
I was done. Wendy's like, "Aren't you going to stay up?" I'm like, "No, I'm going to bed. I'm exhausted. Long day, long night, the whole deal." I was like, "No, not into it."
Be as comfortable as you want to be is my motto.
So, welcome back, everybody. This is Fertility Fact or Fiction. I am your host, Dr. Rahi Victory, and across from me is my illustrious buddy, Doctor in quotations, Tarek Ibrahim. So hopefully you guys are filled with lots of questions. We were away for a bit. I will say that my wife loves this amazing opera singer. And so we went all the way out to Vienna, Austria to listen to him in a Christmas concert, which, by the way, was probably one of the coolest things I've ever attended. It was super cool to be there. Amazing show. I think they had the Vienna Boys Choir. Unbelievable. There was some other choir. The orchestra was there. He was there. A couple of other opera singers were there. And me being the diehard romantic that I am, I actually invited him to go out to dinner with us. And he was so cool and gracious. He said yes. So we had a lovely dinner. We became friends. Super cool guy, very nice guy. And we had a great time. I do think I got a lifetime get out of jail free card with my wife for that, pulling off that one. So that was very fun. And and then we had a nice Christmas. And here we are. My wife celebrated her birthday over the holidays. My sister celebrated her birthday 2 days ago. I may have made some fun of her and told her that I bought her a Swarovski walker for her birthday. I got flamed by the family for that one. So anyways, and then right before the holidays, I had an amazing opportunity with Cindy Derboca from Endo Nutrition Fertility, Endo Fertility Nutrition. And we did a video together and did a whole interview, and then she posted it and it kind of went wild. So God bless you, Cindy. I love you. Thank you so much for that amazing opportunity. And we have hugely, grown as a result of that. So thank you to that. And yeah, so here we are tonight. We're ready to answer some questions. I didn't pick a topic, although there are a couple of interesting new studies to look at. We're going to do one on calcium ionophore oocyte activation, which is up and coming. I can tell you internally, we are going to be starting our new in vitro maturation process for older women with weaker ovaries very soon. It'll probably be ready in early or mid-February. It will be very inexpensive compared to conventional IVF. So we're very pumped about that. We've got another research project that's starting soon as well on how to eliminate aneuploidy from older women's eggs. So that will be even more cool. And we have started a new technique for preparation of sperm, which is looking very promising because our initial internal research showed a huge benefit in being able to identify better, more mature sperm. And we're about to start some fertilization studies on it. So fingers crossed, we can start getting to that, 90, 100% fertilization every time, even for guys with very weak sperm. So very excited about some new things that are coming up. Yeah, that's pretty much it on our end. We got questions coming through, I'm assuming.
You have tons of questions coming through.
Okay.
Nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
You're in great shape.
Yeah.
Thoughts on DQ alpha match and how to have success with that?
Yeah. So if you have a partial DQ alpha match, you can do LIT. If you talk to the folks from Fertility, they'll say even with a full DQ alpha match, they still recommend LIT because there's some binding of the other antibodies and it may help. My dear friend Fred Zaneku at Tripod says it doesn't. So we still try it to see if we can get some benefit from it. The alternative is to use something like heparin, and sometimes that can offer some anti-inflammatory benefits. There aren't a lot of other treatments available for that situation. So we do use it. We use the LIT mostly, and it does seem to work fairly well, and we've had really good success with that.
Can you explain the impact of cannabis and alcohol on female fertility?
Yeah, sure. Reduced egg production, reduced egg quality, reduced fertilization, reduced blastocyst quality, way less implantation, way less. And your miscarriage rate shoots up anywhere from 250 to, literally thousands of percent. So it is horrible for your fertility. You also go into an earlier menopause. And if all that's not enough to convince you, we know that marijuana can significantly alter your fetus's brain development. So that's hugely important. It has neurodevelopmental outcomes that it can impact. And for yourself, marijuana causes a statistically significant shrinkage in your brain volume. You're actually decreasing your brain volume. So that cannot be good. There's no part of that that sounds good. There's no part of that that is good. You need to stop using weed. Everybody does. No one would have ever authorized this from a governmental perspective unless it was going to be beneficial for the government. What does the government want from you? They don't want you to complain, and they don't want you to notice what they're doing. So marijuana is very good at keeping both of those things quiet.
That's why I don't take marijuana. I complain all the time, and I let people know how I'm thinking.
Yeah. Tarek just hit 1.5 million views on his own little TikTok. Bravo.
A lot of complaining going on there.
Yeah.
That is a
lot going on
nonstop
there. Little controversy. So, yeah, for sure.
Happy New Year, Dr. Victory. 2 questions.
Yeah.
How many LIT sessions do you recommend for elevated NK cells, and do you transfer abnormal embryos?
Yeah, so we usually do 2 LIT sessions and then test and then do more if necessary. As far as abnormal embryos, we just had our first baby born from a high-grade mosaic embryo transfer, completely normal baby. So we'll even transfer aneuploids that are segmental. So yeah, we're willing to do it because if you look at the data on this, it's very clear that some of those embryos can actually result in normal babies. So as long as the patients are informed, they've consented, they've spoken to a genetic counselor, we're more than happy to try.
Do your patients using Fertility order kits to their home? My euploid transfer failed. Unsure. Next steps.
Yeah, so it depends on whether you're local to us or you're not local to us. So if you're local to us, we actually just have you come in here and do everything in the office because it's easier to get your blood drawn here. We teach you how to do the swabs and the blood collection, and then we go from there. If you're not local to us, yeah, absolutely have it sent to you and get it done wherever you live.
Do I have genuine empty follicle syndrome? 12 eggs, 6 empty triggered day, 6 empty triggered day 12, dual trigger 2.5 milligrams Letro, 300 FSH, 150 LH, round 3-to-1, empty 11 eggs for immature, overdraw on day 11, progesterone 3.5 on day 10.
You lost me on that.
I felt I lost.
Yeah, empty follicle syndrome really isn't a major thing. So either the follicle is not releasing the egg, which is a huge factor. You didn't get a double trigger or even a triple trigger. or you have failed to respond to the triggers, possible but unlikely, or the follicle's just not detach, the egg's just not detaching. So you can get the egg to detach with flushing. You can usually flush out the follicles even if the trigger didn't fully work, but that's a little bit more difficult. But you can measure the levels of response to triggers. You can measure your HCG, you can measure your LH level in response to a GnRH agonist trigger. So there are ways to figure out if you're actually responding to the trigger or not. And generally speaking, empty follicle syndrome does not exist. So on the yearly basis that I do these, how often out of like 500-600 cycles a year that we're doing, do we actually run into a case where we get zero out of the patient and they took their trigger? Not even one a year. Like it's less than that. It's super rare for us. We just don't see it because when we have a low number of follicles, we automatically flush them out so we don't miss any of the eggs. And especially if you got like 6 out of the 12, but then the other 6 didn't come out, that's not an empty follicle. That's just the fact that they didn't spend the time to get the follicle out of there.
I'm almost 36. AMH 1.15 nanograms per mil.
Okay.
Stage 4 endo.
Ooh, sorry.
Had my ER on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
I had 13 eggs.
Yeah.
8 mature.
Okay.
5 fertilized. 3 blasts being sent off for PGTA.
Sure.
Are these good numbers considering my age, AMH and endo? That's one of 2. Hold on.
So let me just answer that part.
Go ahead.
They're reasonable numbers. Would have been nice to have had maybe 1 more blastocyst, 2 more blastocysts, but they're reasonable numbers. Yep.
And can I do anything to better these numbers on a future retrieval? I'm taking all supplements recommended for endo.
Yeah, I mean, priming, human growth hormone, testosterone, DHEA, that'll help you a little bit. There's one study that suggested Visan would help pre-retrieval. So that's not an unreasonable thing to consider, although I don't do it very often. So I'm not sure that that'll work that well. Rapamycin might suppress some of the inflammatory impact of the endo, so that might be beneficial. And there are studies that show that that is a good option for you if you're going into your cycle. From the standpoint of the lab needs to use oocyte activation, probably Neupogen media. The media that has the added antioxidants into it is very beneficial for patients with endo who have a lot of reactive oxygen species present. So there are ways within the lab to improve your chances. We use time-lapse embryoscopes for everybody. We don't charge for it. So yeah, I mean, there are lots of ways to make this better.
What do you think about ovulation tests?
What do I think about ovulation tests? I think ovulation tests are great. They're highly accurate if you get a reasonable one, usually about 97, 98% accurate. So, yeah, as long as you don't have an underlying metabolic problem or you've got really bad PCO and you have always got high levels of LH where the test isn't going to work for you, it actually works really well. It's a reasonable option.
Thoughts on this article?
Okay.
Progesterone levels do not differ between patients with or without endometriosis, adenomyosis, both in those who conceive after hormone replacement therapy, frozen embryo transfer cycles, and those who do not.
Yeah, well, hormone replacement therapy transfer cycles are the worst possible transfer type for patients with endo and have the lowest chance of success and the highest rate of miscarriage. On top of that, I can show you another study, which we've actually shared on the show, which says the exact opposite of what was just stated. But nobody in their right mind would give someone with endo or adeno a hormone replacement therapy cycle. It makes no sense. We know, no matter who you are, that endo and adeno feed on estrogen. Why would I inflame your endo and adeno right before I'm going to put in an embryo? It makes absolutely no biological sense. At a big meeting in Spain, in Valencia, when I was there a couple months back, one of the main European guys, his last name is Greisinger, he's very famous. He came out and said that there is absolutely no reason why we ever even started with hormone replacement therapy cycles. They were an accident. They never should have happened. He said everybody should be doing natural. And then I approached him afterwards and said, letrozole is better than natural. Why didn't you say letrozole? He said, it's going to be hard enough to get people to abandon the hormone replacement therapy cycles for natural. We can't jump to letrozole. It's got to be a slow kind of process, or else people just won't follow it. So they already know in Europe now that the hormone replacement therapy cycles are absurd. And if you think about the biology behind it, which I have no idea why, it's bizarre to me, but many doctors don't think about the biology behind this. Giving estrogen to someone with endo is absolutely anathema. I mean, it literally makes zero sense. There's no biological plausibility for why that would be a good thing to do. So why people do it, I have no idea, but they're not thinking clearly. Yeah.
The individual that asked about the fertility testing is
Yeah.
in New Brunswick.
In New Brunswick.
Yeah.
Well, I would have them ship it to them there. Yeah. Yeah.
Does a functional cyst affect FET success? Thank you, Dr. VDT.
No, not usually, as long as it's not hormonally productive, which most functional cysts are not. It shouldn't have any impact on your outcome at all.
After testing positive for pregnancy, which supplements do you recommend to continue or start taking for the duration of the pregnancy?
Yeah, we don't change any of our supplements once our patients get pregnant. Pregnancies don't like yo-yos. They don't want you going up and down, up and down. So just keep everything the same.
Working for an FET, testosterone 6 MO 6 months ago, less than 0.1 nanograms per mil.
Okay.
Started DHEA tests, went up to 1.3 nanograms per mil.
Sure.
But DHEA S was 638
Sure.
UG per DL.
Yep. Micrograms per deciliter. Yep.
Deciliter. Does the low testosterone matter for FET?
No. There's no data suggesting that your testosterone level makes a substantial difference for your FET. We don't keep patients on DHEA or testosterone going into a FET. You can't actually, so we don't do that. But we use it for the stim to get the eggs, but not for the actual frozen embryo transfer. That should never be done. You could masculinize a female fetus if you stay on it too long.
Not a question, but after 6 years of infertility and PCOS, I had a healthy baby boy. Thank you, Dr. V.
Oh, that's so sweet. Congratulations. You know, we've been so blessed, especially recently, more and more people who are adopting our protocol pretty much once a day, sometimes twice a day. We get messages from people I've never even met before who adopt one of our protocols or watch a video and they learn from us. And then they go out and they advocate for themselves, which you shouldn't have to do, but more and more I'm realizing you do have to do. And they end up being successful when they previously weren't successful. And the amazing thing about that is they're not even coming to us. They're just learning from us and then taking that information and using it. And they're succeeding when they previously had failures. Countless messages where people say they failed 3 previous transfers, 5 previous transfers, multiple previous rounds, and now they have their baby in their arms, or they're 35 weeks or 37 weeks or whatever the case is. So huge benefits. We had a incredible case recently, very recently, where we were even just following an obstetrical patient super closely who had had a very tragic outcome previously. And then we picked up something on ultrasound, followed up on it immediately, and we saved that baby's life. So, we definitely care about the work that we are doing. We care about the details. We want to be there for you in a way that nobody else has been up to now. And I think that that's huge. It is really important for us that we work with a team of people that care. And that's what it should all be about. It shouldn't all be about business and more cycles of IVF and more cycles of IUI. It should be about optimizing things for each and every patient so they have the best experience possible. When I found out what we had detected on this baby yesterday from our ultrasound tech, I hugged my tech today, not once, but twice. She saved that baby's life, saved the baby's life. And that was a miracle. Unbelievable. So we love what we do. We're passionate about what we do. This is what it should all be about.
Why does first-time transfers work for others but fail for others? Is it just luck?
There's so much that goes into the success of an embryo transfer: the lining, the preparation, the transfer protocol, your body mass index, your habits, your diet, your nutrition, your stress levels. There's a study coming out very soon where they followed women that had high levels of stress in their work, and they were all women doing IVF, and they showed a very significant difference in the outcomes based on how much stress they had at work. So all of these things make a huge difference. Your partner's sperm quality makes an enormous difference. So the transfer is tied into a million different little things, all of which add up together to build this foundation for the embryo to implant and to take. Not to mention the embryo is a critical element of this. If it's not a good embryo, it's not going to work. Some embryos are aneuploid, they're not genetically normal. Some have problems with the quality of their energy efficiency. There can be mitochondrial problems. There can be genes in the embryos that cause them to fail. So all of this stuff is critical to your success. And unless you have every I dotted and every T crossed, you're not always going to have the same success rate across all patients.
Does birth control, regular cycle menstruation,
Regulate?
must be?
Yeah, of course. Birth control will regulate your cycle, but it won't let you ovulate, but it'll regulate your period. Those are two completely different things. If you're trying to get pregnant, you're not going to get pregnant on birth control or even after you stop birth control, because it usually only keeps you regular for maybe 1 or 2 months after. But if you're not trying to get pregnant, you just want to keep a regular cycle, yeah, of course, birth control pill will do that.
They're wondering if you're a Cancer, diehard romantic as well.
No, I'm a Leo. I've got the Leo symbol here. I'm a Leo. I'm a hardcore Leo. Yeah, like I literally fit every single astrological criteria for being a Leo. Yeah, I'm like the quintessential Leo to a fault. Yeah, yeah,
Does silent endo
yeah.
cause RIF?
Oh, absolutely it does. 44% of patients with unexplained infertility have endo. We know that cases with endo have much higher risks of implantation failure. They have higher risks of miscarriage, higher risks of aneuploidy. There's all sorts of immune problems present. There's no question at all.
Is LIT safe?
As far as we know, yes. I've never seen anything that says that there is a safety issue, especially if it's partner to partner. When it's donor lit, you got to test the donor first. And we actually test ours twice with the same testing we use for donor egg or donor sperm. So it's higher than normal level STD testing to make sure nothing is present.
So, Dr. V, what are your thoughts on endometrial scratch? And can this be done while suppressed?
I would never do it while suppressed because it can cause a scar, which can then not heal because you don't have enough estrogen there. Endometrial scratching is probably the most controversial practice in all of fertility. Pretty much every month, someone comes out with an article that says it's beneficial for this group or that group or whatever. And then the next month, someone comes out with one that says, no, it's not, it's useless. It's probably been a year or two before since somebody came out with a big update on this topic. But even when you look at the review articles, even the review articles don't agree because it depends on which study they included and how it was analyzed and all that stuff. So I will tell you, I gave up doing endometrial scratches a long time ago. I probably haven't done one for, I don't know, since before the pandemic for sure, way before the pandemic. It's probably been 8 years or so since I did a scratch, um, intentionally in order to improve a patient's chances of implanting. We can do way more by analyzing your immune system, checking your microbiome, checking the shape of your uterus, correcting sperm problems, stuff like that, than we're ever going to get from a scratch.
Big question. Ready?
No.
I'm going for it anyway. Hello.
Hello.
In which situation would you say it's okay for someone with a preventative cerclage,
Yeah.
embark on international travel. England specifically, trip planned around 20 weeks to return late 22 weeks.
Yeah, no. Yeah, so a cerclage means you've already probably, correct me if I'm wrong, experienced some kind of second trimester loss. And you should be maximizing the ability to de-stress, not undergo any significant changes, not strain in any way, and not be in an uncomfortable position. Being pregnant at 20 weeks and going on a 6-hour plane ride to England, where they have great obstetrical care, by the way, but and with a cerclage in place, and then be traveling and moving around and lugging a suitcase and yeah, no, not if you paid me to. There's no way I would let you do that. So if you were my patient, I would say absolutely no. We tend to tell our cerclage patients, we measure our cerclage patients' cervixes once a week. We tell them to take it really easy, especially as you're approaching the limits of viability, 22, 23, 24 weeks. Yeah, I wouldn't be going anywhere. Sorry. Tarek and I will happily go to England on your behalf.
Oh, I'll sit on the plane for sure. That's
Yeah.
not a problem.
Yeah, and we will detail every part of the trip for you. But
I'll tell you what I ate. I'll tell you where I sat. I'll
yeah,
even draw a picture of the whole area.
we will be there for you in every way.
This is what I do.
This is what you
This
do.
is
You,
what I do.
you do travel a lot.
I will take vacations on behalf of people any day of the week to help them.
Yeah,
for their own benefit.
Nice diary.
Yeah. It was like they were there. What is the limit age to try IVF?
There is no age limit. I have a 49-year-old patient that desperately says she refuses to consider donor eggs and she has to try, even if it's just for closure. Do I think she's making the right decision? No. Have I made that clear to her? Absolutely. But is she entitled to try if she wants to? Yeah, she's entitled to try. I mean, I'm not going to stop people from trying if they want to try. I advise them. I tell them the risks. I tell them the odds. They know the cost. They know they may be throwing away their opportunity or money. If that's okay with them, that's their choice. I'm not going to stop them from making a choice after they've been appropriately educated and informed.
So some people are wondering on TikTok, where are these questions coming from? They're looking at your TikTok feed and they don't see some of the questions that we're asking.
They're from Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok, and YouTube.
Yeah.
We got them all. And hopefully someday LinkedIn. We got to get LinkedIn running. I don't know why that's still not
charged it a bit.
We got to fix that. Yeah.
A question that you'll love.
Okay.
What? No, where it is. I'm cherry picking this question, so I do apologize for everyone, but you will enjoy it.
Okay, I'm ready.
I've watched your videos on ERA.
Oh.
But they are a few years old. Given recent systematic reviews supporting the use of ERA for RIF, have you changed any of your thoughts on it?
So I'm not aware of any systematic reviews that show that ERA is beneficial for RIF. More importantly, the ERA test was proven to actually fail to perform what it says it can do. So the ERA test is not capable of determining who is receptive and who is not receptive. And that was absolutely proven in a randomized controlled trial of the ERA test. So the test by nature is defective. So why would it be useful in any circumstance? The test can't detect what it purports to detect. I'm not going to be telling anybody to use that test. I will never tell anyone to use that test. Ever.
Told you you'd like it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fraudulent test. They knew back in 2018 that the test didn't work. Like 2 or 3 years later, they published this study after they've been sitting on it for 2 or 3 years, knowing that it didn't work. They published a study showing that it doesn't work, and then they continue to market the test. It doesn't work. It doesn't. I don't care what any systematic review says. Bottom line, the test doesn't work. Look at the Richter analysis of the data from the Doyle study in JAMA, which showed very clearly not only is the test incapable of detecting who is receptive or not receptive, but when they calculated what would have happened if you had actually followed the ERA results, it was a 13% decrease in live birth. In live birth, that's huge. You got to be crazy to be doing an ERA test these days. I'm never going to.
That's why I don't do it.
Yeah. I will never be supportive of that test. And I was one of the, like, full disclosure, I was one of the early adopters. I was one of the people that jumped right into it thinking this is the best thing ever. I very quickly realized this test sucks. It doesn't work at all. Half the time we couldn't get an answer. And then when we were getting an answer, it wasn't helping anything. And then when I asked them to show me data, you don't even want to know what happened. So it was a nightmare. Don't do the ERA test, save your money.
What is LIT therapy?
LIT therapy is when we take white blood cells, which are leukocytes, that's the L, and then we immunize the woman with them, so that's the I, and the T is therapy. So it's leukocyte immunization therapy. So we take white blood cells from a male, we isolate them, and then we inject them under the skin of a woman. So she mounts a response to it so that her immune system now becomes tolerant of those proteins. That way, when she next encounters them in the form of an embryo, her immune system doesn't immediately go into attack mode. It realizes it's seen these before and it doesn't need to attack. These are okay.
ZWIG, ZIWIG, a new saliva test for endometriosis.
Oh, I just saw that today.
Have you heard of this?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not a fan of any of these endo tests, to be honest with you. So we started doing one recently called Endomere. It's a Canadian test. Um, I, I'm not really sure how any of these tests help. None of these tests, unfortunately, are yes or no. If there was a cutoff where it said, yes, you have it, or no, you don't, I'd be like, okay, this makes sense to me. None of these tests work that way. They're all like, you get a score of 8.7, you have like an 80% chance you have endo. So what? Like, how does that help me? I still got a 20% chance you don't. And what happens when you get a score of 5? You got a 50-50 chance. I can tell you if you have a 50-50 chance just by looking at you, right? I mean, I tell people every day. I told 2 people from the US today who did actually one from Canada who got scammed with the $100,000 IVF times 3. And another couple, I said, you clearly have endo. You need surgery. A couple from the States, like, you need surgery. It's crystal clear. I don't need an expensive test to tell me people have endo. I can tell you likely have endo. And so I'm very hard pressed to believe that these tests are helping people. Yes, I'd love to avoid doing surgery on people unnecessarily. Unnecessary surgery where I pop in a laparoscope, find out that the patient doesn't have endo, which admittedly is fairly rare, and then, feel like kicking myself because I've put a hole in somebody's belly button. Does that happen? Yes, of course it happens. I don't have like x-ray vision. I can't see what's inside your pelvis. But I'd much rather find out 1 out of 10 times I'm wrong and do an unnecessary surgery on someone than me doing hundreds of these unnecessary tests, charging people thousands of dollars, and then end up telling them, I really don't know, you need to go for surgery anyways. Now I've just wasted your time and your money. I'd much rather get in to do the surgery on you. And for those of you who are thinking, he wants to do surgery because he makes money, you're welcome to go on the schedule of benefits in Ontario, which is publicly available to anybody that wants to look at it and see how much we get paid to do endosurgery. It's around $300. If it's really complicated, like $450. So I make way more being in the office spending 2 hours than I would doing 2 or 3 hours of endosurgery. So it's not a financial benefit for us in Canada. Maybe in the US where they're charging 20, 25,000 bucks, sure. But in Canada, I do it because it helps people, not because I'm making money off of it.
Can you go through fertility treatments while on Ozempic?
No, there is no safety data on being on Ozempic while undergoing fertility treatments. And in fact, it's relatively contraindicated because they don't know what it does. So you should not be attempting to conceive while on Ozempic. And Ozempic has a lot of benefits. Tarek and I were talking about losing some of our Christmas weight.
It's not even Christmas weight anymore. It's just a massive amount of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches that refuse to digest. My metabolism said we should keep this. This is good.
So yeah, Ozempic's a good product. Wegovy, Saxenda, Ozempic. There's a new one coming, which is even better. So they're all great products. I know people near and dear to me that are on Ozempic or Wegovy, and they've done very, very, very well with it. So I am a believer in the value of those products, but you should not be attempting to conceive while on them. We have no idea what the impact will be on your offspring.
Just want to say thank you for doing these Q&As. I've learned so much from just listening. After 4 transfers, I finger my positive using DE, but sadly found out on Christmas Eve it was canceled. It was something with a C.
A miscarriage?
Maybe miscarriage.
Oh, I'm sorry, dear. Let us know if there's anything we can do to help you. I actually had a patient today. I said, if we were talking about stuff, and I mentioned a post I had put out, and I said, if you follow us, and she goes, oh yeah, I'm constantly stalking you on social media. And I thought for a second, I don't think that came out right, but
Positive stalking.
Positive stalking, yeah. So you're more than welcome. That's why I had that awesome giraffe video on Instagram. I mean, some patients are clingy, but you know what? I love being there for you guys. It's nice if I can fire off a quick text or a message to someone to reassure them. Yeah, no problem. I had someone contact me from Alberta today asking for help and, just to get some reassurance because we helped them and now she's well on her way, but she had a problem. And I was like, yeah, if it takes me 5 seconds to tell people what to do, or just to provide reassurance, why wouldn't you? Yeah, that's what being a doctor is all about.
That's the oath.
That's the oath. That really is. Did you see it? You probably didn't see it. So there was a post from another doctor, nothing related to fertility, who said doctors need to take time for themselves and they got to be people too. And I was like, I'm sorry, but I just don't buy this stuff. I said, I don't agree. When you commit to medicine, you're committing your whole entire life to being there for people, for patients. And yes, of course, I need a break too. You and I are going skiing soon. We take days off. Yes, I do. I go travel sometimes, and some of it's work related, some of it isn't. Everybody needs a day off. But overall, your commitment is to patients and to people and to your practice. Shockingly, people, not even doctors, patients who saw what I posted absolutely tore me a new one.
No way.
Really? They ripped me apart. They ripped me apart and they said, you shouldn't be saying that. That's inhumane and it's wrong and it's not reasonable and you could be endangering people's lives. I'm like, endangering people's lives? Clearly these people don't know anything about residency, medical school, running an office. I've been doing this for over 20 years now. You work your butt off.
It wasn't the doctors that were.
No,
it was
actually, the doctor was very cordial about it, and she didn't say anything. But and I really respect her for that. But the reality is, people even in medicine's become kind of boutiquey. I want to work this day, I don't want to work that day. That old-fashioned commitment where you jumped in the buggy, like the horse cart buggy, and you rode off to someone's home in the middle of the night to say that's gone. Right? No one's doing house calls anymore. No one's staying late to help people. We had a local physician I stayed late to see last night because they needed to be seen quickly. And the guy's a colleague, right? I have people I help all the time. I got to do one this weekend when we're gone, right? Somebody I promised. So we go above and beyond when we need to because that's the job. That's what you're supposed to do.
I think most patients expect that. To be honest, like I would have a hard time imagining that people are okay with a doctor that doesn't care, that is kind of like whatever. I'll get to it when I get to it. It's like saying it's okay to be a sucky teacher. It's like the complete opposite of what it's supposed to be. Or I want to be a parent and I hate kids. It's like, what? What do you mean?
Yeah, I was shocked. Like it blew my mind that these people were actually pissed off
Wow.
that I was saying, as a physician, you should be there all the time. You should be there for your patients.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Surprise.
I mean, I get other doctors who don't want to have that kind of lifestyle. They want the like comfort doctor lifestyle doing that. But if you want to be great at anything, forget medicine, right? You want to be great at anything. You want to be a great driver. You want to be a great, ping pong player. I don't
Sure.
care, right?
I'm actually a great ping pong player.
Yeah, so am I. You want to be great at anything, you got to do it nonstop.
Yeah.
You got to live it and breathe it. You got to think about it all the time. There's no half-assing medicine. You just become mediocre. Who wants to go to a mediocre doctor?
Those people.
Why?
It must be because you know what? If I look, you're a great doctor in general. I see the way you treat your patients. Thumbs up all the way, right?
I appreciate
But if there was a doctor that is so confident in sucking that they post it on their social media, I would unfollow in a heartbeat.
The thing that kills me is this is an American doctor, right? So these are the same people saying the doctor needs time off. The doctor needs to be, relaxed. The doctor needs to have a life too. And then the minute those doctors make the tiniest mistake, multi-million-dollar lawsuit, right? Like, how do you rationalize those two? They don't even go together. It makes no sense. You can't say, go be a normal person. You're okay and allowed to be human, and then ask for $12 million because they told you the baby's eyes were going to be blue and they turned out green. Like it's ridiculous. Right?
I never make eye calls when the patient's asking what color should they be. I never get involved in that.
Like it's crazy, right? Like we are human, but the job asks more of you than what is normal for the average person working an average job.
And I think that's what it is. Like even because some of my friends are also doctors, and they tell me like they would actually tell me, don't let your daughters go into medicine because it'll kill them. Like it's so difficult. So if you know it's such a difficult and demanding profession, and you know you're going to in medical school they're going to slaughter you, and you're going to be up all night working, I think that's the school. Like in real life, it should even be technically even more so.
Yeah,
wouldn't it be?
Yeah, I mean the training. They worked as hard, and I worked hard in residency, but I worked every bit as hard as I did in residency now. And in residency, I got the next day off, right? Go home, hang out with the kiddies, have a good day, be there with the wife. It was awesome because my wife stayed at home when we had the little ones. It was wonderful. I loved being in residency at that time because I got home, relaxed, take it easy, recover. You can't recover now. I got 50 people to see the next day, right? So there's no way. Otherwise, I'm days and days behind, and people are already complaining that they have to wait a month or two to see me. There's no option to be mediocre. Like I said, you're either great or you're not.
You're either great or you're not. You are great, sir.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm just trying to be not mediocre.
Yeah. No, believe me, anyone watching, they don't want you to be mediocre.
Yeah.
Is total motility of 35.5% an acceptable number?
No. The current value from the World Health Organization, which is the bottom 5th percentile, so you're in the lowest 5%, is 42%. That's another thing that makes absolutely no sense. The current standards from the World Health Organization, which they base as the lowest 5% of all men, right, across like the globe, was what was considered infertile like 20 years ago. Like you were. Really? So what's considered fertile right now was wildly infertile 20 years ago. You were like horrible with that. But now because the sperm keeps getting worse, they keep lowering the threshold. Oh, and right now we're using the bottom 5%. Like it's not, those guys aren't getting their girlfriends, wives, partners, whatever, pregnant. So we're using the wrong standards.
Wow.
God help you if you tell that to anybody.
Yeah. That's why we say it here on the live. Let them know. We said it here.
Yeah.
Can Clomid cause a super short cycle, ovulation 17-day cycle?
No. In fact, often it'll do the opposite. Clomid frequently delays your cycle. You may have been off with your egg development from the beginning of your cycle, and it accelerated that part of it.
Can you chat more about natural versus medicated IVF? My doctor suggested natural when my first was born by a medicated IVF.
Well, natural cycle IVF, where we give you either no or very, very, very little medication, 2 or 3 days of like 75 units of Menopur or something, is good for women who either have religious objections to doing IVF, or it's good for patients who have concerns because they are not producing very many eggs. So if you're someone with a super low AMH, whether I give you hundreds of units of Gonal-F and Menopur and Recavel and whatever else Puregon that we're using, or I give you very little or even none, you're still probably only going to produce 1 or 2 eggs. So why would I give you a ton? It just doesn't make sense. You may as well just take a lower dose or no dose and we get more eggs. Now when I say we, I mean Victory Reproductive Care, have made that pricing incredibly appealing to people because it's also really inexpensive compared to a full IVF cycle. It's almost exactly half. And in fact, very shortly, it will be half. So we've made that very appealing to people by making it cost less because we know they'll need to come back and do more cycles. And instead of putting all that money into medication, you just take the meds money, take way less meds, and do the natural cycle IVF. We believe in some cases, not all, you also get better embryo quality. But if you're someone that can produce a lot of eggs, 10, 15, 20, even 8, 9, there's no rationale for doing a natural cycle IVF because most people need more than one embryo to succeed. And so you're much better off getting more than one embryo. So a stimulated cycle will give you that. And you should, generally speaking, with some exceptions, go towards a stimulated cycle unless your body is just not capable of making any eggs. I get loads of people who have gone to other clinics. They've got a rock bottom AMH and they're getting like 600 units a day of medication. That's basically like $700, $800 a day worth of meds, which are killing your egg quality, and you're still only going to make 1 egg. I could give you none or charge you 10 grand in meds, and you're going to get the exact same outcome. Why would you barbecue the eggs and lose 10 grand? It just doesn't make any sense. Great way to make us rich, great way to make you poor.
Can endometriomas grow post dual stim?
Endometriomas can grow at any time. Duostim is no process that either promotes or precludes getting an endometrioma. You can get an endometrioma at any time. Are you going to suddenly develop an endometrioma from a duostim? Probably not.
When should an IVF pregnancy be delivered?
39 weeks. That's from the Society for Maternal Fetal Medicine guidelines. We've been doing that for over 10 years, long before those guidelines came out, actually probably like 15 years now. And I won't change because we know that the placentas in IVF pregnancies are not as strong as normal placentas are. Oftentimes our patients are older as well. And so you need to deliver those babies earlier in order to avoid complications like stillbirth, oligohydramnios, need for cesarean section, things like that.
Can you travel at 39 weeks to BC? IVF pregnancy, no issues so far. Thanks.
Whoa, can you? Sure. Just make sure you know your airline's rules. In some instances, if they have to bring the plane down, they make you responsible for the cost of the plane, the whole plane, including all the passengers,
No way.
all the expenses. Yeah, it's like a $500,000 expense if you bring the plane down. So
I'm sure Air Canada would charge you double.
double, yeah. So you need to be cautious. Oh, I hit super elite again.
That's the best. That's the best.
It's the best.
I want
I
to be your
can't wait
friend.
to get the little card.
So, what did I want to show you? I don't know. It escaped me. I apologize. Something related to travel and Air Canada.
Your China trip?
No, that was a good trip, but that wasn't it. I can't remember.
Don't worry, go on.
Yeah. Okay. It would have been good for the show, but do you have requirements for a surrogate? Like if BMI is high, could she still be medically cleared?
Yeah, so we take each surrogate on a case by case basis. We have some guidelines that we like to follow. We do want to aim for a reasonable BMI, less than 35 ideally, but that's not universal. We have some that have higher BMIs and we accept them. We want to try for less than 3 cesarean sections, overall less than 6 births, no smoking, no drinking, no drugs, psychologically stable, financially stable. Like we have criteria, but we have many surrogates that don't exactly fit our criteria, and we still allow them to go through because overall their history suggests that they're a reasonable candidate. So we evaluate each case on a case by case, or each surrogate on a case by case basis. We look at everything in their history in detail, and then we make a decision as to whether or not they're good candidates for our patients or not.
Do you have to do PIO, or are these suppositories enough? Prepping for FET baby number 2 and dreading those.
The shots, yeah. So in our program, we follow the research, and the research very clearly shows that PIO with vaginal progesterone is much stronger than either one of them alone. So the sequence is both, and then PIO, and then vaginal. So we always do both.
The $1,000,000 question.
Is it another era question?
No, that wouldn't be. That's like a 25-cent question.
The $1,000,000
The $1,000,000 question.
Okay.
How can a patient of yours
Yeah.
get the quote unquote Ozempic? Sign me up. Is the
Oh,
question.
so we actually work with a number of doctors now who specialize in weight loss for our patients. And you just asked about surrogates that are struggling with their weight. We actually contacted these doctors specifically for that group of people. We work with nutritionists, we work with dietitians, we work with our group next door where they do physio and yoga and exercise plans. So we have a whole program dedicated to weight loss. And we have several doctors, including a new one that's really fabulous, who will talk to you about the risks and benefits of all of these GLP-1s and what's right for you. So just contact the office. Yeah, Tarek and I might be starting on it ourselves. So contact the office and we'll get you on what you need.
Where are you located in Ontario?
So main office is in Windsor. We have satellites now in Sarnia, in St. Catharines, and Woodstock should open up very shortly. And then we're part of the Excellence Fertility Group, which is myself and Tripod Fertility, which is in Toronto. So we have a Toronto location now as well.
My miracle baby from Dr. Victory turns 11 this year.
Oh my God, that's awesome. Wow. I do feel old now, but that's amazing. Yeah. I have some families where every year on the kid's birthday, they'll send me like a picture and stuff. It's amazing seeing some of these kids grow. And then they always send something really cute, like without you, we wouldn't have this. It's such a good feeling. It's literally the best, most rewarding thing I could ever imagine. So thank you. And thank you to everybody that contributed to my weight gain and diabetes by bringing me bucket loads of chocolate, some of which were truly excellent, all of which were happily scarfed down. So yeah, thank you for the lovely gifts. You were all way too generous, totally unnecessary.
My dog,
Uh-huh.
who you know,
Uh-oh.
and I won't mention who,
Yeah.
will not add letrozole with Lupron.
Okay.
Apparently, there was a presentation at the ASRM
Uh-huh.
meeting regarding negative effects of letrozole on body for FET.
That goes against the science of 3 separate studies, all of which show a benefit. So I didn't see that article or the presentation at ASRM, but I need to see a publication which goes against 3 other existing studies which show a benefit. And that's just with Lupron. There's over 31 studies showing that letrozole for FET protocol is beneficial. So, yeah.
Under what circumstances, again, this is their question, not mine,
Yeah.
do you recommend uterine PRP as part of an FET protocol?
Oh, yeah, that's easy. So there's 2 reasons for uterine PRP. One is to thicken the lining of the uterus. So if you've got a thin lining, it's been proven very clearly that it can be beneficial and thicken the lining for you. And the other reason is for unexplained failures, where studies show as high as a 50% increase in live birth if you use uterine PRP. We do them at different times for those different reasons, but it can be beneficial for both of those cases. So unexplained failures and for patients that need to thicken their lining.
Oh, great question. How long off of Ozempic before you can start trying?
They say 6 weeks, so we're telling people 6 weeks. I actually asked the Ozempic people to come meet us so we could go over all the details, learn about it, learn how to prescribe it, all that stuff. We are too busy to come see you.
Wow.
They're literally so busy they couldn't come.
It's like the best medicine in the world, I think.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird thinking about it. And we're barely overweight. Like it just seems like, I don't know.
So do you want me to blow your mind?
I'm ready.
My brother-in-law, who is involved in a company that is involved with natural products. I won't get into details because he'll kill me. He went to a conference and he picked up some sort of natural supplement that somebody's making off in Europe, which has the exact same biological impact as taking Ozempic, but it's purely natural.
I want to eat.
I know. So my sister tried it and he tried it.
Okay.
And he says that when you take it, it completely stops your appetite. Stops you, like you don't want to eat when you take it. So I'm going to try and
share what this.
I'm going to try and get my hands on some.
Share.
Well, I mean, it would be
sharing is caring.
Yeah,
that's where it comes in.
I need to finish my chocolate supply first.
Lucky you. You have room for chocolate. I've maxed out horizontally. This is as far as I can go. I've acquired new pant sizes right now. Does girdle and musinex help with fertility?
What was the first one? Girdle?
Geritol?
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 I'm not familiar with Geritol. Musinex can actually. There's studies on Musinex showing it can help with liquefying the sperm or cervical mucus to improve your chances. So I actually have told patients to try it before when they have very thick semen samples. Yeah, or very thick cervical mucus.
Jumping onto Instagram, which location are you at all the time? Is a question that was being asked.
Well, under pain of death, I have been instructed that I am not allowed to go anywhere but the Windsor location and the Sarnia location. We are opening up in the United Kingdom very soon. We will be ready most likely by March. So I probably will be going to the United Kingdom once every couple of months for a week. So you want to come with me? You're welcome to come with me. So we will be in the 3 locations. St. Catharines has 2 doctors that work there. We will have another doctor in Woodstock. So it's just a matter of me being in these spots. And then we may be opening up more locations. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Also, is there any improvement in icing testicles for sperm morphology?
Huge. We tell all our guys to do that. So the 4 things you do for sperm quality: no smoking, no drinking, no drugs. Make sure you're taking fertility vitamins for men. Ejaculate every day or every other day. Ice your testicles and avoid heat. No cell phone, no laptop, no car seat heater, no hot tub, no sauna, no jacuzzi. Sit on frozen peas for 20 minutes every day. Only feed them to your worst enemy.
I wouldn't eat those peas.
Yeah, every time
And I
someone
only
puts
eat
peas,
vegetables.
yeah, every time someone brings you a plate of peas,
The thoughts going through my mind.
yeah, you got to be wondering, like, do they have kids? Do they not have kids?
I'm telling you right now, if I went to their house and they don't have kids and they offered me peas,
You're not
I'm
having
not
a
eating that. No way.
Oh, that's rich. I love it. 9 o'clock. All right. Okay. Well, thank you guys. It's great to be back. I think we're back again next Tuesday,
Should
right?
be okay.
Yeah, we're going to be here a
Absolutely.
bunch of Tuesdays in a row. We love you all. Thank you for watching. We will have an article for you next week because there are some studies that are worth mentioning. And we will chat about some of those coming up soon. I will look up the ERA and RIF thing, although I think I know which study you're talking about. If that's the one I'm thinking of, that was not a well done study because it's based on a lot of small studies with questionable results and methodologies. In any event, I will check into that because I do like shredding the ERA apart. Everybody have a wonderful week. Stay strong. Know that we are there for you. If you have any questions, please let us know. Thank you to all those of you who have helped grow our Instagram. Please go out there and get more people to follow since we desperately want to get more people to learn about how to optimize their fertility care. We have a couple of posts coming out, one in particular, which I think is a nightmare story, which really gave me pause about my career and from a patient and something that they said. And I actually thought, man, I am in a really very degenerate, corrupt kind of environment. So stay tuned for some exciting posts from us and give us feedback. We're always open to feedback. Let us know what we can do better for you guys. Have a great night. We're going to sign off until next week. Fertility Fact or Fiction.
When is
Yes.
the next stick award?
Oh, we have two. You have one already.
We released both of them.
No, we have the third one, remember, which we
Oh,
were hesitant to
you were hesitant on it.
Yeah, but I think it's far enough now. We'll be okay.
So
Yeah.
drop it.
And then I think so. Let me see it first.
Okay.
And then there's that guy Rubio
Yeah.
Fuentes, the guy in the white T-shirt always who spews nonsense. Yeah, he put out one that was just epic.
So we got him coming.
Epic. The other thing we need to do a long video or a whole session on religiousness and IVF.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
Yeah. Yeah. That'll be a good one.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You guys all have a great night. We will talk to you soon. And if we didn't get to your questions tonight, Tarek will undoubtedly give me screenshots of the 5 billion questions and I will do my best. Have